Is there a development agreement on this property right now?
Mayor Strain, no, there is not. We just have the conditions of the rezone applicable to the property.
Okay, I couldn't recall the last time we were considering this piece of property for residential building and whether or not there was a development agreement that might have been grandfathered into our current
There was
discussion.
Mayor Strain, there was a development agreement, but it applied, with one exception, it applied to the north portion across the street, the area where the gas city was built and the vacant land that remains. All the conditions applied to that, with the exception that the developer who owned both sides of the street at that time was encouraged to apply for a rezoning to single-family residential, again, because of that potential for the increased amount of traffic had it remained commercial. And the developer followed through with that, and that pretty much was it for the development agreement for this portion of the site.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Blanchard?
Yes, Mr. Brush, I seem to recall that at one time when we were looking at this piece of property that we had put something in there that on the east side that there'd be no more than one story on the houses.
Councilmember Blanchard, that's correct. That's one of the rezoning conditions, that the row of houses adjacent to Summit Meadows only be 1 story in height.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All in favor of moving this forward? Let's count hands here. I've got 6 and 1. 6 and 1. Thank you, Mr. Brush. Item number 10, Mr. Mueller.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Resolution 2008-153 Gateway Center Development Agreement be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mrs. Jacobs. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is yet another example of the implementation of the City Council's infill incentive district policy, which basically has been used a number of times over the past 4 or 5 years to provide incentives for folks wanting to reinvest in our West End. In this particular case, this is another example of an enterprise by Melee Enterprises, which consists of a team of folks represented here this evening by Mr. Perry Melee, Mr. Alphonse Melee and company. And they are proposing another office building across the street from one that they constructed just recently that is occupied north of the Sun Canyon Inn, just off of Buffalo Soldier Trail. It is a lovely entryway into the city of Sierra Vista. What this development agreement does is provides incentives for the development or redevelopment of several parcels of land. Most notably, some folks around here may remember the old A&W restaurant, and that has now been assembled along with several other properties, and all of those buildings have been demolished and the area is clear and ready for an office building. So we have suggested several things to that aren't currently allowed in our code, but that would make this a viable project for Melee Enterprises. The primary one has to do with the height of the building, and as you know, several years ago, before the Garden Place Suites were constructed next to the Sun Canyon Inn, the council did discuss and was prepared to allow up to 60-foot height for that hotel, which for economic reasons was downsized, but the feeling of the council at the time is that if we are going to allow height increases in our community, that we need to do it strategically. And this is an area of the community that really would be a lovely sort of mini downtown for the city of Sierra Vista and could accommodate additional height. So this building would result in a 68-foot height with some additional area for a parapet, which would shield all of the equipment, and will consist of 4 stories and a deck underneath, so essentially 5 stories where there will be parking. The location is, I mentioned, at Taylor Drive and North Garden, and one of the other things that we're allowing is 2 access points for good circulation. Our code allows only 1, but because it's a corner site, this would allow for much better circulation for the building. The exhibit that you see before you is what the building would look like at that corner. The what you're seeing is a view from Taylor Drive, an architectural rendering, and this would be, as I mentioned, a standard office building. A couple of other things: we are making some allowances in setbacks. We're making some allowances in parking by counting on-street parking and making it more realistic. The property across the street that the Malays also own will have a cross-parking agreement, so whatever parking might not be available at one site could be made available across the street. And the Malays will also be doing some work as they do on-street parking to give a perception of a narrowing of North Garden. So all of those things, I think, really result in a quality development, a catalyst for future redevelopment of some of the areas over on North Garden and our West End in general. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'm sure the Malays would be happy to answer any specific questions you may have as well, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Jacobs, I don't recall in our discussions anything about street improvements on Taylor Drive itself and who pays for those.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the development code does require any widening or improvement of curb, gutter, and sidewalk. If that is necessary, that would be the responsibility of the developer.
Thoughts, comments, questions? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 11, Mr. Blanchard.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Resolution 2008-154, preliminary subdivision plat for Walmart/Sam's Club be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Brush.
Thank you again, Mayor Strain, members of council. This is a request for the approval of the preliminary plat for the Walmart Supercenter site. And the project site is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Highway 90 and Martin Luther King Boulevard Jr. And the overall parcel size is 45 acres. They're dividing this up into 5 lots and 2 tracts. The Walmart would be located on this lot, south lot. The Sam's Club would be located on this lot. There would be a small lot created for the water suppression tank over here. There would be a lot created for the Sam's gas station over in this area. And there is a lot being created for the outlot, which is owned by, or will be owned by, a separate entity. And 2 tracts are set aside for stormwater detention, and this large area to the north is being dedicated to the public as part of the linear park and the wash area in that area. The outlot that I mentioned will likely be further subdivided in the future by that property owner. You'll be seeing that at some point in the near future. The site development plans for this project are well underway. We're about 90% of the way complete to approving the site plan, and the building plans for Sam's are actually approved. The building plans for Walmart's are nearly ready to be approved. Developer is moving forward very quickly after a year's worth of review. And I'll mention just a couple of the site-related improvements to you because the site development and the subdivision plat are somewhat interrelated. Access will be to the site. This is a copy of the actual site plan. I realize it's very difficult to see, but it reflects what I just showed you with a few more details. Access will be off of Highway 90 at the Campus Drive intersection with a signalized intersection being constructed. There'll also be a right turn, right in, right out access located at this point, which is across the street from the existing access into the Plaza Vista Mall, and that will be restricted with a raised center median constructed by the applicant. There'll be a right turn lane into there. There'll also be a right turn constructed onto Martin Luther King. There will be an access off Martin Luther King that will be at the existing signal going into the Lowe's Center across the street to the south. And there will be another signal constructed at Avenida Escuela, with the applicant constructing the east half of Avenida Escuela, including a taper at the south end. And also in an agreement with the city, the development agreement approved by council, as you know, is contributing half of the cost to the bridge crossing over the wash. A number of other improvements include multi-use paths along the north and along the east side, the standard sidewalk and sidewalk curb and gutter improvements around the south and west sides. There'll be a site perimeter wall on the west side because we've got multifamily residential development west of that.